All right, we got our guest right now, Brandon Lewis. He is founder of the Tennessee Conservative. You can read it at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Brandon, how are you today, sir?
Man, I'm fantastic. Excited to be here.
All right, so I know that you were pretty public about your support for Rick Scott for Senate Majority Leader. You had put pressure on our senators, Bill Hagerty and Marsha Blackburn, to vote for Rick Scott. Both of them came out and announced that, yes, they did vote for Rick Scott, but it didn't work. Unfortunately, he was still third place. What do you think about all this?
Well, the first thing I want to say is hats off to Bill Hagerty and Marsha Blackburn. It is obvious that GOP primary voters across the nation, and in particular in Tennessee, wanted to see somebody that had a better score on their conservative voting record, that had less of a track record of pushing back against Trump as an individual or his policies. We didn't get that, but so often the pleas of the voters fall on deaf ears. It has largely happened my entire adult life with Republicans once they get in power. But specifically, I'd like to take my hat off to Marsha Blackburn because she had originally voted for, in that list that leaked out, John Thune. And, I recorded a little video. I think 23,000 people saw it between all of our coverage and emails and everything. We reached about 40 or 50,000 people and asked them to pick up the phone and call her offices. And there were other organizations and, of course, just a grassroots groundswell that was doing it independent of what we did in tandem. And she changed her position, which is very rare. And so to have a leader that will listen to the constituents and then change the direction is important. And for those of you who don't know, the first round of voting was conducted by a controversial, in my opinion, secret ballot. And he narrowly missed it. He won 13 votes. Corn won 15. And then later, John Thune and Corn had a final vote count of 29 to 24, with Thune edging things out. And so we don't need, in my opinion, any kind of secret voting. None should be allowed in any government institution. It should all be public. And we have this thing called voice votes in the Tennessee House. They don't do it in the Senate. In the Tennessee House, where the chair can say, well, I hear no's or I hear yeses, instead of taking roll call votes. And what that allows them to do most often is to deceptively kill bills that would have passed. And we had many situations where that happened last year in the Tennessee House. And I hope that at some point they will revise that, because I think Tennesseans deserve it.
Yeah, from my understanding, the reason why it was a secret vote is it's up to the leader, right? The majority leader? He's the one who decides it to be a secret vote? Pretty sure that's what I heard.
Assume so. My expertise is more state than federal, but it's an instant. But there was a huge cry, and the people that showed up at Marsha Blackburn's office in person, you know that people are aggravated and motivated when they physically gather together outside of a Senate office to protest their opinions, but at any rate, there was a huge cry not only for, hey, change your vote, but hey, let's make this transparent. And so I believe they should have done that.
I agree.
Win back some trust from the American people, but the swamp's going to swamp, so it is what it is.
Unfortunately, I'm speaking with Brandon Lewis, founder of the Tennessee Conservative. I know this was not one of the stories I said to you ahead of time, but I did wonder if you had a reaction to what the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation had said, that Venezuelan gangs are in every major city in the state. Of course, my take on this was, well, yeah, if you leave the border wide open, this is what happens. What do you think about it?
Well, we've left the border wide open, but at the same time, we have allowed in Tennessee, under Republican leadership, we've allowed this to happen. So when people come into the United States, they look at all the 50 states and they go, where am I going to go do illegal things? And apparently Tennessee is so attractive that Venezuelan gangs are coming here. Why are they coming here? They are coming here because of the job magnets. They are coming here because the mass transportation that we allow organizations and like Delta and Greyhound and all the airlines and independent contractors to bring them in. The taxpayer-funded education, and they're here for the benefits, and we give them to them in Tennessee. Although many conservatives have brought bills to turn these magnets off Yaffee, Republicans have consistently killed them in committee. And it all falls, leadership comes from the top. So Cameron Sexton in the House, Randy McNally in the Senate, and then Bill Lee, they have never pushed a single solitary policy initiative that would stop illegal immigration at the state level. And so we could have cut this off. We could have made this unappealing at the state level, but Republicans have chosen to side with the corporations and the special interest instead of the will of the people.
Do you have any hope that might change this next coming session or in the future?
My hope is that as Trump begins the process of mass deportation and many of his other initiatives, that the contrast between what he is doing and what he is saying and what our leaders are not doing in the Republican Party and not saying in the Republican Party at the state level, there will be such a contrast that the voters will wake up a little bit and start giving them the business about doing it. And as I have said, I'm doing some interviews, and there's some good legislation that's coming down the pike. I've got my hands on a piece right now, and it is my hope that A, those things pass, but B, if they don't, we need to hang those votes around the necks of the rhinos in the primaries, because that is remarkably effective. It is the single most effective wedge issue for unseating an incumbent, because people are sick and tired of the inaction on this, and they want to see some changes.
Well, that was one of your main criticisms of Patsy Hazelwood, correct?
Yes, she had bad illegal immigration votes. Todd Gardenhire has bad illegal immigration votes. And there are some others. If I went digging around, I don't have all my votes in front of me right now.
Yeah,
but okay. In our delegation, I don't know if anybody else does necessarily. I think that anybody who was in office pre-Greg Vital, pre-Greg Martin, if I'm not mistaken, all voted to give illegal aliens professional licenses. And so this is a huge problem in Tennessee, and it is driven because, if we make Tennessee unappealing, they'll go somewhere else. But we've made it such an appealing place. That's why we're attracting gangs. And finally, I'll mention this. We report every freaking week multiple stories: rapes, murders, assaults, thefts, identity theft. Just you can't, any category of crime. And it's only the handful that we can catch with our limited staff, because the mainstream media doesn't pick it up. We can't reprint stories that nobody ever prints to begin with. And so you've got to reach out, guys, in Hamilton County, to your state rep, to your state senator, send them emails, call them and say, what are you specifically going to do to stop illegal immigration at the state level? And if they tell you it's just a federal problem, you tell them, no, that's not the truth. Quit lying to folks. Get off your duff and do something.
Well, I know we don't have time to get into everything that they could do, but can you give an example of something they could pass next year that would help?
Yeah, and so Gino Bulso, I assume he's going to carry through with this, has a very simple introduction that would define what Tennessee resident means. So right now we provide, for example, taxpayer-funded education, which costs $600 to $700 million a year in Tennessee at taxpayer expense. All our schools are overcrowded, etc. And all the rhinos will say, oh, if you're a Tennessee resident, in our Constitution, it says that you have to get a free education, okay, taxpayer-funded education if you're a kid. But you can define what Tennessee resident means, and it should not mean asylum seeker, illegal alien, people here from other countries on visas. It should just be, these are the folks. You have to be a U.S. citizen to get a free education in Tennessee, maybe with a few caveats. Now, there's that. There's the banning of the mass transportation, actually introducing civil penalties to corporations instead of letting them skate by, which is what they've done. And then E-Verify being compulsory for any employment in Tennessee. And then finally, I've gotten tons of emails from police officers that work in these benefits offices. And they're sending me messages saying, hey, there's busloads of illegals showing up to the benefits office, and guess what? They're getting them. like 19 times out of 20. And rhinos will tell you, oh, no, that's not happening in Tennessee, when in fact it is, and most people know it is.
Brandon Lewis, he is the founder of the Tennessee Conservative. I'd read it right now. If you can, go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com. You can subscribe as well to their newsletter absolutely for free. Brandon, appreciate you coming on as always. We'll talk to you again in the future.
Take care, Yaffee. See you, man.
All right, if you want to react to that, you can, 423-267-1023. One person weighed in on our text monster, asked what rhino means Republican in name only. So every time he says rhino, that's what he's talking about. Not the actual animal, but Republican in name only. And unfortunately, yes, there are some rhinos in our legislature.